Hey, and welcome back to How to Be Real, a place where we can be real in a world obsessed with fake, okay? I am your co-host, Tasha B. I am an actor, a filmmaker, and creator who is living for this cool fall weather, baby. Loving it.
Same Z's. And I am Tay. I'm a creative producer and your favorite local yogi.
Period. And once we get that out the way, I always say, how you doing, Tay?
Right now I'm hot.
It's a little warm in here.
Right. I'm like, ooh, my sweater. I came prepared for the way fall is treating us right now.
Yes, the fit is cute.
Thank you, my friend. Yours is too. I'm loving the stripes.
Thank you. I know. I was feeling sweater, but then I put the sweater on. This sweater, it was more so in line with how yours looks. But just getting ready, I was like,
Getting warm. Yeah.
I'm hot, so I'm gonna need to find it's long sleeve season.
It is.
Not
It is.
precipice of sweater season, but it's long sleeve shirt season.
In the morning and in the nighttime, sweater.
Yes.
In the daytime, it's like long sleeve.
Long sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
Blouse.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but overall, I feel great. I feel like, I teach a class tomorrow, which is cool. And really looking forward to our 26 and 2 workshop on Saturday. But overall, I mean, things are flowing. It feels kind of like another week. You know what I mean? Oh, I guess it's Halloween week.
Right.
So there's that.
Spooky ooky.
Spooky ooky. What about you? How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing well. Like I said, living for this change of weather.
Yeah,
it's
about time.
I was worried. I was really like, is it going to be summer for the rest of the year? Like, are we going to get a fall? Because you know how sometimes it'll be like, summer, winter. And I didn't want that. I don't want summer, winter. And that wind that we got a week ago or whatever, that wind was crazy. I don't like that. I hate, why is the wind, what are you doing? Why are you so upset?
My allergies were
Can you
really angry.
Calm down, please?
Yeah.
There's no need for you to be this windy.
When it's outside, like, woo!
Yes. Oh my God. It's like, Anyway, all that draftiness. So anyway, happy for that. The weather's getting crisp. The play that I'm doing, oh my God, it's such a bittersweet time because it's like it's coming to an end. This is our last weekend. And I'm like, oh my God, yay, an accomplishment, right? We love those. We love scratching things off our to-do list and things. But it's also like, oh, I'm going to miss everybody. I'm going to miss everybody. I'm going to miss, one, happy to have my weekends back, but also like, what am I going to do on the weekend now? I don't know.
The world is your oyster.
I know. So yeah, absolutely got so much from this. And I just know this weekend is going to be amazing.
I know. I'm excited. I'm very excited to come to the closing show. I feel like we were literally just talking about how you had just got the part, you know what I mean, before it even started. So it's wild how time just
flies by, baby, when you're living your dreams.
Yes.
But yes, this year is also a very reflective time for me. Like fall, winter, the end of the year. My birthday's in December. Literally one of the last days of the year is my birthday. And so it's really like I get into this space of like, okay, what have I done right? What could I improve on? Where am I trying to get to? Where am I right now and where am I trying to be? And what could I do to kind of move that needle? So like I'm starting to get there. I'm shifting into that. I know definitely after the play, it'll be like, okay, taking stock of what we learned. What are we doing? What do we have now? What do we have now that we didn't have before? And how can we use that? And where can we go next?
Boom, boom, boom.
Love that, but I also need to balance it with like, okay, girl, rest.
Yeah,
as well.
Absolutely that.
But yes, that brings us to our shout out. And we want to shout out a very special, near and dear business that is thriving right now.
What business is that?
It's on the up and up. And I mean, you may have heard of it, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know.
Ninth Flow Creative, are you familiar?
Ninth Flow?
Yes, girl.
You mean my business, Ninth Flow? The social media production studio? Ninth Flow? The production social media production studio that's helping brands show up authentically online.
Period. The one and only.
Ooh, yeah. Shout out.
Shout out. The biggest shout out. Shout out.
Hey. No, very, very thankful for that, for having a moment to shout out the biz. Very excited to continue growing. It's coming to like the end of like year and a half now.
Wow. That's crazy because that flew by. I remember you like, I'm jumping off, I'm doing it. And like you have done it. You've grown so much. You have employees now, girl.
I know my team.
What?
I love my team. Shout out to my team. Mel, Maddie, Kaylee, Zoe, y'all are all amazing.
Killing
all
it.
Incredible women.
Absolutely.
Talented. If anybody out there who's listening is looking for some social media strategy, creative content, full production, or even some branding, reach out.
Reach
You
out.
can hit me on IG at @justsaytay, @justsay_tay. Boom.
Get in touch.
Right. Or you can even hit me on email, taylor@ninthflow.com. Boom.
Yes.
Okay.
Tap into that flow.
You know, self-plug.
Absolutely.
We love a good shout out.
Oh, we need that. We love that. And just for me, shout out to you for all of that because you've worked so hard and I've watched you grow this business from the ground up and it is only the beginning, like you said, only a year and a half in, and you are killing the game. So I just wanted to give you them flowers, girl, because you're doing that. It's inspiring to watch.
I appreciate you because, you know, sometimes it does not be feeling like that.
Girl, I absolutely know that. But and I feel like that's why I'm like, I need to say this because it is. You are doing it. You are absolutely wholeheartedly doing it. So be proud. Pat yourself on the back. Take these flowers, smell them because you deserve it.
Thank you. Chin up.
Yes, girl. Chin all the way up, okay? To the gods.
To the gods.
But that will transition us into our 3 realists.
Let's do it.
And this one is a fun one. Our 3 realists personal fall traditions. How you get in the mood for fall, Tay? What you be doing?
Okay. Well, number 1 is hot sips. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
So, 1, hot toddies.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh my God, yes.
Or like just kind of alcohol and any warm,
right? Hot
sweeter
buttered
drink.
rum.
Yes.
Oof, yum.
A boozy hot chocolate or a boozy chai. Ooh, come on now. And also non-boozy is also delicious.
A warm drink is just so nice. I mean, it hits all year round for me personally.
Same.
But when it's cold outside, it is just like, how could I get warm? I know. Boil some water. We about to do something.
And the same goes for soups. Making soups.
Oh my God.
All the soup recipes come out fall time. I'm like, oh yeah. Get a little wind. Oh, is it a little crispy outside? Bust out the crock pot, bust out the Dutch oven. We doing something.
I know. I made some. My husband wasn't feeling well a week and a half ago, and I made some chicken noodle soup. And you know I don't eat chicken. But he was like, can you make me some chicken noodle soup? And I was like, I got you. Aww. So I like marinated the chicken, just did like a dry rub, season, put it in the fridge for like an hour. Yeah. And then I went ahead and like put it in the skillet and like, you know, not blackened it, but just kind of like got it kind of, yeah, didn't fully cook it, but kind of mostly cooked it. Yeah. And then boiled some noodles. And then the trick with noodles is you boil, after they're cooked to the consistency you like them to, I like mine like lightweight al dente, and Dale does too. I don't like too cooked noodles. I don't like that. If you want them to not further cook in your soup or in your mac and cheese or whatever it is you're gonna do, if you're gonna like bake them afterwards, you then take like an olive oil or whatever you use in title oil is you after you strain it, you put that oil on it and toss it in there and then let them cool with that oil after you've coated them, and then they'll keep their integrity.
Okay, it's the oil coat. Okay,
that stops them from further. It like stops them from cooking and tells them don't cook no more.
Look, that's the perfect tip for soup season.
It is.
Hello?
Do it,
Anybody
y'all.
listening, do it.
It works.
My second is swapping out my closet items into fall,
Girl,
winter time.
that's on my list.
Okay? Yeah.
Because you got to do it. You got to be like,
let's
take the sweaters from the back to the front. Put the booty shorts in the back.
Exactly. So that's a must. And then lastly, candle shopping with Rod. Like,
love candles. I need some candles.
Okay, that is something we love doing. And honestly, we'll do that throughout the year, but the scents that we look for start to change, you know? A good vanilla sandalwoody pairing, or like
cashmere.
Yes, a little cashmere. A little apple senna, you know?
All those warm vanilla apple crisps.
Yeah, exactly. So but don't pass me anything that smells like cake or fucking, if it's like pumpkin spice. No, like keep all that. I want some natural regular flavors or scents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Apple and cinnamon. I can find apple and cinnamon at the store. Vanilla and sandalwood. I can find those things. I like more earthy thingies.
Yeah.
Earthy scents.
Yeah.
So
I feel you. Same.
Yeah.
I feel like same. I do like I always go for the same stuff. Anything with vanilla, anything with a sandalwood, a nice hazelnut. What is the other one?
Well, musk.
Cigar. I have one that's like it's like cigar and something else. Not velvet, but it's something in cigar, and it's one of those wood wick.
Oh yeah.
Candles.
Oh, a wood wick candle. Come on.
Such a vibe.
Come on.
Such a vibe. Change the game.
You
Change
know?
the whole game with me. I'm like, okay, not this has a little crackle to it. I like this. This is cute. I like it.
You know what's so funny? When you said velvet, that made me laugh because I'm like, what the freak does velvet smell like? You know, you're like, okay. Because you do see a lot of candles that have stuff like that.
Where you're like, what? For me, a
smell
candle
like?
scent that I used to not like that I now like is like clean linen. I used to think like, why the frick would I want my shit to? But I'm like, a clean linen, I'm like, oh, I'm putting this in my bathroom. Oh my God.
It does. It smells
I
like.
just want to light this candle and then take a shower.
Yes. Some fresh Tide or like a, what's that called? Dryer sheet.
Yes. Oh my God. I used to not care for that scent. Like personally, I really just didn't care for it. Even like laundry, if it smelled too much like detergent, it would be like, okay, like I need to wear this. I like it to smell a little more like my body. But now I'm liking when I put something on and it's like, oh, this smells like detergent.
Like in the commercials.
Yes, I do. I am the girl in the commercial now. Like, oh, this is a fresh shirt. Oh my God. So yeah,
Same.
It's weird how we
Absolutely.
change. You get older and the things that excite you are like clean laundry.
Literally.
A fresh vacuumed rug.
Oh, oh my gosh. Under your toes.
I just want to sit down on it. I just want to lay on the ground. But okay, so mine.
Yeah. What are yours?
Changing the wreath on my front door. I have one for all the seasons. And
That's so cute.
Putting mine, oh my God, my fall one has like sunflowers and like fall colored leaves. And like, it's very cute. It's very fall. And I'm just like, I put it on and I'm like, it's fall.
Yes. And that sounds so you, the sunflowers and everything. Yes.
It's so cute. And then, yes, definitely bringing my sweaters, specifically my sweaters, from the front of the closet to the back of the closet is just like, yep, it's time.
It's time.
It's time. It's time. And then like my running and workout gear as well changes. Like today when I did my run, I have this like black like track kind of jacket, but it's like kind of tight. It's very cute.
Ew.
And it like turtleneck, so it zips up to like here,
Oh,
and
those
it
are
has
so
the little thing where you put your thumb in, and it kind of covers. And it's just so cute. And it was a little chilly this morning, so I put that on, and I was like, oh my God,
Yes.
I look so cute.
Something about a good thumb hole.
Yes, it's just like,
just,
you know, I don't really want to like, definitely not running either. Gloves, I'll be getting a little too hot when I wear gloves sometimes. Like unless it's that cold and I'm outside for hella long.
Like I'm
but
in the
like,
snow?
yeah, but if I'm going on like a 30-minute run, do I really need gloves? And I'm
Don't
going to
get
be
warm.
running. Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
like, that is the perfect thing where it's like, you have, your hand is warm, but your fingers are still chill.
Yes.
And then if it gets hot, which it did get hot and I ended up popping my thumbs out, like, ooh, rolling the sleeves up to here. Like, get off my hands. I'm hot. But yeah, love that. And then the last one is buying, eating, and baking with persimmons. I love persimmons.
Ooh.
It's about to be. It's not quite, but it's about to be persimmon season. And I just love persimmons so much. They have such a buttery, spicy kind of flavor. They're just so good.
A little persimmon nutmeg mix or something. Hey, you made these, was it last year? When we went to I guess it was probably 2 years ago. We went to that thing in the Bay Area. It was like it was a really pretty situation. It was like something for actors. I forgot what it was.
Was it like a holiday party?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you made those freaking persimmon muffins for our road trip. Yo, I will never, clearly I have not forgotten
That was my first
They were
time
so
making persimmon muffins. And I was like, I feel like these would be really good in muffins. And
bomb.
I did it, and I was like, "This is so fucking good,
It was so
good." But it's funny that you mentioned the nutmeg situation because what I'm gonna try to do this time is make a tea. I'm gonna try to make put it in my French press and like
A persimmon tea?
Yes, girl, muddle them up real quick, and then do like some star anise, a little bit of nutmeg, and maybe even put some chai.
Girl,
in there.
you
Just
are
do,
in
like, a persimmon.
3024
Like,
right now.
oh,
Your
I feel like
mind.
it's gonna be so good.
It's
like
gonna be bomb.
better
You
than
have
I
to
feel
report
like
back.
I feel like what everything they're doing with pumpkin, you could do it with persimmon and it would taste so much better.
Yeah.
Like so much better. Persimmons are so good. If you've never tried one, please do. They're so good. They're so good.
I know. I wonder what like a persimmon spice latte would taste like.
Probably hella good. It would probably be so good, bro.
This one little coffee shop by my house called Chocolate Fish, they have a like seasonal chais. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what a persimmon chai would taste.
I'm telling you, I'm about to make one.
Yeah, please report back.
And I
please.
will report back because
Okay.
I just know it's gonna be good. Anyway, so that will transition us to our weekly reel, which is a more serious topic. One that is a lot worse, or not worse, but like a lot more serious than I thought it was in this country. But the loneliness epidemic in the United States.
Talk about it.
The numbers are high. 1 in 2 Americans report experiencing loneliness. 1 in 2.
Oh my God, that's half.
That's like
50 freaking
There's 2 of us right now.
Right.
That's
Damn.
The issue is so serious that the Surgeon General issued an advisory about the epidemic. The Surgeon General, it's serious. And just for some context, advisories are reserved for significant public health challenges that require the nation's immediate awareness and action. So it's serious.
Yeah.
You know, this is a serious thing.
It's an emergency.
And I mean, for me, the first thing that came to my mind is like people are so disconnected. Obviously, the pandemic had a lot to do with where we are now socially as far as the disconnection. I think there's a lot of things became digitized that like maybe before weren't. And a lot of people in their formative years, right? You got kids that were seniors in high school, freshmen in college, all these times in your life where, you know, you're being socialized. You're being taught how to be an adult in life, but you're also you're around other adults trying to learn how to be adults in life, and you're going to parties and you're, you know, hanging out with your friends, and things are just a lot more open. And right now, you know, or back then they didn't get that. And so when you don't get that and you have to learn it now at 23, that just makes it difficult.
Hell
you know
yeah.
what I mean? It makes it
like
really
starting
difficult.
high school?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Starting high school, freshman, sophomore year,
Or mid-high school. I mean, honestly, ooh,
I had a
tough.
nephew that graduated and it was online. It was like a virtual,
that is so
and you're just like,
sad.
oh my God, like you should be it should be so different. And I just remember feeling like that. And then on top of that, just adults as well.
Yeah.
It's already really hard to have friends as an adult and keep up with friends and make new friends as an adult. It's hard. You're like, how do I
Nurture
do
those
that?
relationships.
Yeah, it's like your time is already, you know, split between like home and work. And if you have kids, that adds another layer to it. And then, of course, like keeping yourself together and whatever workout regimen you have or mental health practices or just your personal hygiene, keeping up with yourself is difficult. You know, I mean, not difficult, but it's a lot.
Yeah,
It's
a lot to keep
time.
track of.
And so then on top of that, to have friends that like, okay, now you got to get to know this person and go and do things with them and kind of build this bond that takes time. And it's just like a lot of adults are opting out. And that's something that it's one of those things where it's like, you know, in the day, because I've been there too, where it's like, you know, you're canceling plans with friends because it's like, I just don't have the energy.
Yeah.
But then you're realizing that like, man, I wish I would have hung out with my friend that weekend because now I don't have time this week at all.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like socially
Deprived.
dry. Yeah. Like I'm socially definitely deprived.
Yeah, and sometimes when you end up doing it anyways, when you're like, damn, I made this plan and I don't want to flake, I don't want to cancel, so I'm just gonna go through with it. Sometimes you end up getting energized from it. You're like, damn, I'm so glad I end up going out and doing this and hanging out with my friend because I'm like, I don't know where the energy came from.
Right.
But I just am like,
I feel lighter. I feel like I got a second wind. I'm coming home at midnight and I can't sleep because I feel great.
And during COVID, you could not get that. Like, it's like, where's that second wind coming from? Nowhere. The new freaking whatever that's about to stream.
New season of Love is Blind.
Yeah, exactly.
Lord, no, that's draining.
Exactly. And like for somebody like me, like I have worked from home. I still work from home. You know what I mean? I've been working from home definitely since 2020. But like right before then, I was at a job that was in the office, and it was like my first job back in the office in hella years. So when it was time to work back from home, I was like, yes, I'm so excited. I'm so happy. But then when it was like, you can't go nowhere, can't do nothing, can't see anybody, it was like, holy shit.
I want to go somewhere.
I want to go somewhere. And it really did feel like, even though I lived with someone, like it still felt like, you know, after a minute, okay, this motherfucker get on my nerves.
Okay, I'm going crazy.
I'm going crazy.
I need to talk to somebody.
Yeah, I do feel a little lonely. You know what I mean? Like, and I could only imagine how it felt for, you know, people who are stuck in a house, stuck in a place with maybe parents who weren't nice to them, or, you know, family members who maybe they had to take care of, and you don't get a break from that caretaking, and, you know, all of these different situations.
Or just in the house with no one, and it's just you, and you can't go anywhere, and you can't invite people over, and it just feels like... And then it was like, I remember thinking of the people, it's like, wow, why are people still going out? Why are people still doing this? Oh, there's a house party. Why are y'all at this house party? But it's like, motherfuckers are lonely. Yeah. They're sitting what do they have at the house? They don't even have a dog. They're just there with themselves.
Yep.
I'm at a party too. The heck? I can't. No.
Like, fuck it. That is not
how COVID. That is not how humans are wired, baby.
Yeah.
Like, it just really isn't. But something else I want to talk to or bring attention to is the broad expansion and chronic use of social media.
Yes.
And technology. Social media is it has its pros and its cons, but I am really realizing that sometimes, or maybe when I think about it too much, the cons are kind of outweighing the pros. Like, somebody posted this post and it was like, a random picture of like a McDonald's breakfast and like OG Instagram. Like, remember the little blue border that it had, like all the stuff.
I have some screenshots.
Yes. And it was like, man, remember when Instagram was like this? And it really was like, there wasn't any judgment. Someone would post something just like this, as super mundane as this. And the just comments, there were comments like, that's cool. I love those hash browns. Yeah. It's just like real. And it's like, damn,
it's number 3.
Yeah. Instagram used to be like that. It really did. It would be like, you were not so stylized and whatever. It was really just like
aesthetic.
Yeah, like, this is me in my Togo's hat.
Yep.
All this.
Yep.
Peace sign, pursed lips. We're cute. The sepia filter. Period. We're cute. And now
the doggy filter.
Yeah, and it's just become something totally. You're like, I was seeing that and I was like, damn, that's hella crazy. Like, this is before stories, before reels, before video, when it really was just an Instagram of what you're gonna post, whatever it is. You know?
I will never forget when one of my friends put me onto Instagram. Like, he was like, yeah, do you have Instagram? I was like, no. And I had heard of it, but I was like, no. He's like, it's really cool. And he showed me pictures of like photographers on Instagram and like of landscapes of like mountains and stuff, like true OG Instagram. And I'm like,
that's like what it was made for, I believe.
Yeah.
And then we got on with our basic ass shit. Like,
literally. And who I would have never, at that time, sitting in that car, I would have never, ever imagined that one day my entire career would be based off of what's happening on social media, or like, you know, helping others brand themselves on social media.
Bro.
Like, I would have never thought that it would be a job, period.
Okay. But it is. App? It's a thing. It's a fucking thing.
And how much money goes into it.
Bro.
And like we're talking about now everybody's full life is on there. That's like, some people are unable to break away from it, whether it be Instagram or TikTok or
Facebook
or anything.
You know, I was going to say Twitter, but X or whatever.
Yeah, right. Reddit, whatever.
Threads, whatever you're on. But it is something that, like I said, pros and cons, right? But this U.S.-based study, participants who reported using social media for more than 2 hours a day had double the odds of reporting increased perceptions of social isolation compared to those who use social media for less than 30 minutes a day. So it is something to where, one, the algorithm is something that you definitely could use to your advantage. That's something that you specialize in with your job, is utilizing it. And I think that that's absolutely dope that we're able to do that. However, the algorithm as a user, it's something that is designed to keep your attention and keep you on Instagram for longer amounts of time.
Yep.
It's something that, like you said, people can become addicted. There's a certain chemical reaction in our brains, the dopamine and all these different things that happen that, you know, and I've even noticed myself to where, like, have you ever been in a situation where, like, maybe you get into a little skirmish with your significant other and you're like, oh my God, I'm going over here and I'm going to just go sit over here. And you immediately just start scrolling and you're just like, why am I...
Yeah. Like, I don't want to think.
It's like,
I just want to scroll.
Then like 45 minutes later, like, what am I've been sitting here. Or like, have you ever sat down somewhere like kind of uncomfortably?
Yeah.
And then you're like, why the frick is my hip on fire? And you're like, I've been sitting here for dummy long just scrolling.
Absolutely. That'd be me. I'm not going to lie. That'd be me sometimes like on the toilet. Like I'll be
my
scrolling.
God, yes.
And I'm like, my whole legs are
asleep.
So
you can't even feel your feet. You're like, oh my God, I need to get out of here. What am I doing?
And the crazy part is like, sometimes it's even just like, I just had to pee. And like, I'm just sitting here for dummy long. I was done like 15 minutes ago. Why am I still sitting on the damn toilet? What is it called? Like colonizing my eyeballs. Colonizing our eyeballs.
Yeah, absolutely. Our eyeballs, our attention. Yep. It's like, it's just sucking it right out of you. And then there's been times where like I do that and I'm like on Instagram for 3 hours and I'm like, bro, I am drained.
Yes.
I feel crazy right now.
Yeah.
Like this is mentally affecting me. Like I'm affected. Yep. And there are times where I really will feel like that. Like the last time that happened, my stomach felt hella weird. And I just felt not like sick, but lightweight nauseous. Like I just felt like something had happened to me. Like I felt like I need to go outside. And I went and like sat on my porch without my phone for a while and just sat on the porch and was just looking at the sky. And I did feel better.
Yeah.
But it is something. It's disconnecting you not just from people, but also from reality. Like you said, there are some people where their whole lives are on there. There are people who run fan pages for celebrities. And like your whole thing is you're posting this celebrity on social, like,
and they have like hundreds of thousands
of followers posting like you're Rihanna every day, finding different pictures of Rihanna to post, and you're just like, on one hand, you know, cool picture,
but also, you could get paid from that. Yeah, but it's also cool.
Also, like, bro, what the fuck are you doing with your life?
Yeah, like you said, pros and cons.
Yeah,
people can find connection there. They can find like dope
community
run clubs, or,
right?
Yeah, like or like I found my book club through social media, but also like there's this story that I was like telling you about this 14-year-old boy.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, his name was Sewell. I hope I'm saying it right. Sewell Setzer III. And this young man was making friends with an AI chatbot who was designed after Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones. And his mom is now suing the platform, which is called Character AI, because he committed suicide after that. He was talking to the bot, talking about how like isolated he'd been feeling and how he had these suicidal ideations and all this. And, you know, the AI chatbot is just giving back what it's being given. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's, he ended up saying something like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about like killing myself. And the chatbot was like, no, in a Daenerys way, was like, no, well, you can't do that, you know, in whatever language. And he was like, no, I really want to come home. And the chatbot replied like, yes, come home to me. And
oh no.
And that was like their last messages before he committed suicide.
Oh.
And so it's just one of those things where it's like these 2020 and the quarantine created this space where AI could accelerate, you know, like it just is going, it created this lane where people were interested in using that kind of technology and could honestly start to develop these relationships there, you know?
Yeah.
And I forgot what the word is when you develop a relationship with something that's like far from you or like not related to you or not have anything to do with you. There's a word for it, it might come to me. But yeah, I definitely think that, yeah, sure, there are pros to that, but there's also lots of cons, like people who are feeling super isolated instead of turning to a real person are turning to these chatbots.
Yeah, I know.
No connection.
Though that's like literally something that I have here where I'm like, my next thing is like chatbots and AI. Is it good for the community? And I think there are a lot of avenues where it can be really helpful and really good for the community. But when it comes to solving like specifically this issue and a lot of the social issues that we have, that's not a technology issue. That's a human issue. And it can only be solved, right? Like there can be these, like you said, AI can fit into these spaces, but is it going to solve the problems? Because can it? This is a human issue, right?
Exactly.
Had that young man been chatting with a therapist via telehealth, maybe the outcome could have been differently.
Yeah.
Or it could have been different. You know,
For
things
sure.
could have been different. It could have been someone who is qualified to have these sort of conversations with somebody who's in such a vulnerable place. An AI chatbot, especially at this stage of AI, is not going to know that, hey, this is mental illness. This is something that I should, you know, report this to a qualified person. I should refer this person to this. I should send these mental health resources. I should alert this person's mother or father or guardian about what it is that they're talking about.
Yeah.
I should let this person know, hey, this sounds like this, and these are dangerous thoughts, and it sounds like you should talk to somebody. Like, who do you have in your life that you can talk to about this?
Yeah.
Because I'm just a fucking robot. And I'm like, come on. And I'm like, that's where my anger for AI comes from, where you're just like, bro, you're not a person. You're not. Yeah. Like, I'm somebody, like you were mentioning earlier with the candles, like, I want it to be a natural something. Like, I don't want no fake artificial ass something. And I'm very much like, I have this like inner rejection to this artificial stuff. Even when I see just like the artificial photos of people, I'm like, I do not like how this looks. Like, it looks so weird. And it gives me this visceral, like, full body, like, ugh. Yeah. Because I'm like, this is not a person. This isn't a person. I know this isn't a person. Yeah. You're calling this a photo, but it's not. It's a rendering. It's not a photo. Because a photo is if you take a camera and click it with an actual person. That's a picture of a person.
Yeah. I agree. I'm very curious to know, like, okay, what are some of the other ways that folks can be connected through social media or technology, again, like true connection, and to help solve that loneliness factor. Right. Or if they're maybe not solve, but help, like, you know, soothe a little bit of the loneliness. Like, going back to, like we were saying, the traditional.
Right? Because it's like there's solving it is going to take, because, again, it's been years since COVID. Yep. And so it's going to take years to kind of solve the issue or create different avenues for people to walk down that can help to solve this issue and make up for what's been done. But like you said, there are ways that social media can. And if the people who are in charge of these social media platforms cared, they would do that. They would do certain things that kind of urged people to, like, hey, you've been scrolling for a long time. Maybe log off until tomorrow. And I know I put a 3-hour time limit on my thing because I was like, I remember seeing, which I love that iPhone does. It'll tell you, hey, your screen time has been high. You were online for 6 hours yesterday. Yeah. And you're like, 6 hours?
My golly. And that's
why was I online more than I slept?
Okay.
That's wrong. That's not okay. Girl, I don't like that about myself. So now I do have a 3-hour time limit, and once that's up, it's up.
Yeah. And it's so crazy because sometimes you're like, you know, thinking like, oh, I didn't have time to do A, B, and C today. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's because I was on fucking social media for 5 fucking hours.
Right.
Like,
did a whole shift on Instagram.
Literally. I'm over here talking about, I didn't have time. No, girl. You were using your time elsewhere.
Yeah, your time was colonized.
Yes.
By the social media motherfuckers.
And the crazy thing is it's not even being used. It'd be one thing if I was like chatting in the group chat and making plans to meet up or whatever. But it's like, no, sometimes I'm using that time and I end up getting off feeling drained, like you said, or feeling worse, feeling judged, feeling judgy toward myself. All those things. Anyways, feeling alone.
Yeah, it's oh my God. It's such a complicated thing. Because I have another stat that's like, oh my gosh. The percentage of Americans that are living alone has increased decade to decade. So in 1960, a single person household accounted for 13% of all United States households. In 2022, that number more than doubled to 29% of all households are single person households.
Wow.
Now, I know that there's like this, you know, I can speak to like the Black and brown community because that's where I come from.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this stigma, right, with multi-generational living. You're supposed to get out and do your, like, leave.
Yeah.
Get out,
here.
get on
You're
your
18?
own.
Bye.
Yeah, you need to go. Like,
Yeah.
you need to get a job, you need to get a place, you need to be on your own. And it creates this individualistic mentality where everybody feels like they need to have their own house and their own this and their own that. Yeah. And again, that leads to us having a lot of these single households where back in the day, it was perfectly okay to live with your parents until you got married or to take your mom in. When you did move out, you took your mom or your dad with you or your grandma or whatever. And it was these, or you and your sister moved in with each other and all these different things. So it's, again, something to where, like, it's great for everyone to have their own, but do we need it to be that way?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if we're living all separately and we're all hella lonely and sad, what is the point?
Broke.
and broke, barely making ends meet. Why? Right. What is the problem with us combining our resources and living comfortably with each other? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with us buying a duplex and us? You live in one half, I live in the other half. Right. Yeah, we got our separate living spaces, but we're also right next door to where if I want to talk to my sister, I can just knock on the door. Mm-hmm. We can meet in the backyard type shit. Like, why as a society is it so bad to live with your family?
Right, as an American.
As an American,
society.
I can't speak for any other country. I'm always coming from the
from that. That's
from a Black woman in America.
No, for real, that is so true. That's so interesting because it really is a lot about. And don't get me wrong, I do feel like there are some situations where it's like, yeah, experience living alone, see how that feels, and because some people, you know, come from families that they would rather not stay with, you know.
True that.
But yeah, I don't know. I think I agree though. I think that if that was an option,
roommates, something. I don't think because it's even like I hear people talking shit, and it's mainly in like movies and shit, where it's like, oh, he still has a roommate. This man doesn't want to live by himself, and he's economically thinking like, hey, why live alone in a whole big old place by myself as a single man when I could live with this other single man or this single woman or single person, whatever you want to say. We could both save money. Have a little bit of community. What's wrong with that?
Literally, I thoroughly enjoyed my roommate situation.
And it's like,
it was so fun.
And what was wrong with it? All three of you guys paid less rent, less bills.
Yep.
You could even share a little bit of groceries. Okay, somebody cooks. Now you got dinner.
Absolutely.
And community. What's wrong with it? You guys are still friends today because of that bond. So
we did for 3 years.
Yeah, it's like if I'm a single person who it's just me, and maybe I don't want to live with my family, like you said. Not everybody's family is.
But you could be chosen.
I feel
chosen
that.
Family.
Okay, but it could be chosen family. It could be your friend. It could be, you know, somebody you met through work, or it could be a roommate situation that turns, because you, like you said, it does turn into family. It is like, it's not, sometimes it's not.
Sometimes, yeah.
But again, I get the perks of living alone, like you said. You do need to experience it. But I collectively, as a society, I do want us as a country to heal from that. Same. I do want us to get to a point where we aren't so afraid of each other, where we aren't so mine, me. And it could be a little more communal thinking. But the only way to do that is if we do get in each other's faces a little more, not in a confrontational way, but just like we need more FaceTime with each other. Yeah. We need less self-checkout lines and maybe just pay more motherfuckers so that the lines go quicker and we can actually talk to someone and ask them how their day is. Because I've been in situations where I get in the line and, you know, you get that person that's probably burnt out and is, hi, how are you? And I'm like, I'm doing good. How are you? Yeah. And they're always like, oh, I'm doing really good. Thank you for asking. You know what I mean? It's
some of those checkout combos be cute.
And it's like, we need that. Some people, I saw this one person when I was kind of researching this topic, I ended up on this Reddit thread. And there was this old man who posted, and he was talking about how he was like, I'm single right now. his wife has passed away, his kids are grown, and they don't really talk to him. And he was like, I live alone, and some of the only human interaction I get is when I go to the grocery store. Aww. And I really enjoy going and talking to the people and taking my time and all that kind of thing. So it's like when
that's why you always be kind, bro.
That's why you always be kind, because you never know. And then when you start taking away these kind of minor interactions, it adds up.
It does.
You know what I mean? Now it's like, did you even leave your house? You did Instacart, you did DoorDash, you're doing all this stuff online, you know what I mean? And it's like places like Reddit do offer. That's what I do like about Reddit, is it's not about how you look, what pictures you're posting and all that. And they do have that on there, but it's really like discussion forum. It's discussion-based social media. If you have a question, if you have, I don't know, a special interest, a show you want to talk about, you can.
I like that.
You can talk about Naruto. There's Naruto Reddit subreddits, and there's like, you can find anything on there, and I really like that. I like what it offers. But
yeah, I think that's a good starting point too. Yeah. Like if you're somebody who's like trying to crawl out of that loneliness, I think a discussion forum is a good, easy access starting point.
Oh yeah, very low barrier for entry, because you don't really have to go anywhere, and you don't have to like get dressed, and put yourself together. You really can just create your thing, and Reddit can be, you can put your name on there, or you could not.
Yeah,
you can be totally anonymous and just be on there sharing your feelings, and it's a safe place to do so. And of course, there's toxic. Of course.
Don't be a D-head. Don't be somebody weird and go trolling and stuff.
But again, and then same thing, everything in moderation, bro.
Everything in moderation.
Too much screen time, too much anything is just, you can't make something your whole life. Like, you gotta live your life.
Yes.
Find you.
Please.
But I do want to touch on just like some of the health risks that posed up. Because I was like, I perused the Surgeon General's, it was like an 80-something page advisory that he put out. And so I was perusing it, and also read a little bit of someone who summarized it. But some of the health risks, I'm like, health risks? We know about mental health, but
like real this health can actually,
yes. So the lack of social connection poses a significant risk for individual health and longevity. It increases the risk for premature death by 26%.
Holy moly.
And the risk for, basically to put it in perspective, it's the same as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. The increase of premature death is the same if you were to smoke 15 cigarettes every day.
Wow, that's so sad, dude.
Yeah,
oh my
it's chronic. Like it's a I could see why the Surgeon General was like, bro, this is terrible for our community. Like this is not good for our country. Insufficient social connection is also associated with increased risk of disease. A 29% increase for the risk of heart disease, 32% increased risk of a stroke. Wow. Of course, we know a huge increase for risk of anxiety, depression, and even dementia.
Wowzers.
And it can even increase your susceptibility for viruses and respiratory illnesses.
Which, girl, see, okay, hold on. Let me get on my little conspiracy soapbox, is it really conspiracy if it has this much fucking fact behind it?
There's a lot of stats to back it up.
I just feel like the whole, like, not that COVID was a hoax or anything, but saying that people being stuck inside, doing sending people into the orbit of loneliness and isolation, and having these be real health effects, like scientifically backed health effects afterward. It's just, you hear a lot about like those controversies about how, those in power want to control the population control, like, let's not have as many people on the earth because we can't take it. Yeah. It's like, I think a lot of people think, oh, they're going to do X, Y, and Z, like a short thing, something that will hurry up and kill a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
Which, not saying that that's not a thing too, but a lot of it is the long game. Yeah. Like this.
Yeah.
What? Like,
create all this division so that people can't lean on each other.
Mental illness. People now people are in
high stress.
Yep. Or prison.
For me, that's what all these stats, this is what it tells you, is that you being in an increased social isolation lifestyle it's adding a lot of stress on your body, because we all know stress is scientifically proven to kill
Silent
you.
killer. Yeah.
It kills us.
Yes.
Having too much stress. And so it is something that's like I said, I feel for people that are single. I feel for it, especially in the pandemic. I was really like, man, even having somebody to argue with, like you said, you don't even have someone that's getting on your nerves.
I know.
That kind of makes you like, I'm now enjoying sitting here by myself and watching this movie alone. Like, you don't even have that. You know what I mean? And not to say my husband was getting on my nerves, but you know how it is. We spending weeks inside together. It's like, okay.
Yeah. They're bound to step on one nerve
Yeah,
or
okay.
two.
It's bound to happen. But even that is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. So again, I just reiterate that, like, bro, we need each other. We did an episode on community, but I feel like I can't say it enough that like, we need each other. I know podcasts are a very great space to feel like you're not alone. I know when I'm doing long drives, or if I'm, cleaning my house and no one's home, and it kind of helps to feel like, okay, I'm not really alone because I'm part of this conversation.
Yeah.
You know what
exactly.
I mean? It helps. It's one of the ways that we can cope and have a little bit of human connection. And I love that we still have these avenues to do that. Because again, I think this is a bright spot in the technology kind of sector of things, where it's like, okay, this is one way that technology can connect you to humans.
Yeah.
And give a little bit more human interaction where maybe you wouldn't normally have one. Like I said, on a long car ride and you're by yourself, it's like, okay, I can hear some humans talking and feel like,
I'm talking with my besties.
Yes, it feels like I'm having a conversation.
Yeah.
And I can talk back, and y'all may not hear me, but I'm here with you.
Exactly. And I feel like, too, if you are out there and you're feeling lonely, like we mentioned what Tosh was literally just talking about, we mentioned group discussion forums, is an easy way to get into there. I feel like also maybe having a pet, so that you can like take them on walks and take them to like doggy parks.
There was an increase of people adopting pets from the ASPCA in the years of COVID.
There you go.
It was a huge increase of people getting pets. So
yes. And little like local clubs, like how I know we talk about this a few times, but like run club, book club, little things like
cooking class.
You can find little niche things for
class.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, and then even like they have like live action role playing, Comic-Cons, anything. Like you can find something for yourself.
And even if it's just where you're like, okay, I'm not even that far into it, I need to start super, super minimally. What if it's just like you were mentioning, saying hi to the cashier at the register the next time you go to the store? Or, instead of letting the dasher drop it off at the door, maybe you meet them and just be like, thank you.
Answer the door when they knock and say thank you. I know something I also do. I take my dogs on a walk, and one day I was just like, I'm going to say hi to these people. I was walking in my neighborhood. So I was like, good morning.
Yeah.
Like, oh, good morning. And you'd be surprised how many people will be like, wow, you picked a good day to do this walk. This weather's been crazy. This is nice to have this nice day. And you're like, yeah, for real. Oh my gosh, I can't stand all the thing. Anyway, have a great day. And those little micro conversations, you'd be surprised. It just makes you feel like, oh my God. Like when people say like faith in humanity restored.
Yes.
Is like, and it's easy to be doom and gloom. It's like, there's just bad people, but there's not just bad people. There's great people, or at least decent people that will say good morning back to you. Maybe some won't, but some will. And we're all at the end of the day, we're all human. We all have the same basic need for community, for belonging, for comfort, for acceptance. Like we all have those same basic needs. So why not, when you see another human, at least attempt to say, hey, I really like your sweater. Yeah. Like, oh, thanks. I got it from X, Y, and Z. And there you go. And sometimes that's enough.
Yeah. That can be your social, that's the check off your social box for the day. Social meter full.
So unless you have anything else, I want to end this with a really nice excerpt from the actual advisory from our Surgeon General of the United States, Vivek H. Murthy. I don't know if he's still the Surgeon General, but he was, I think, in like 2022. So anyway, I love this. So he says, each of us can start now in our own lives by strengthening our connections and relationships. Our individual relationships are an untapped resource, a source of healing, hiding in plain sight. They can help us live healthier, more productive, and more fulfilled lives. Answer that phone call from a friend. Make time to share a meal. Listen without distraction of your phone. Perform an act of service. Express yourself authentically. The keys to human connection are simple but extraordinarily powerful.
Ooh,
I absolutely love that. That was from
beautiful.
a doctor, babe.
Okay, doc.
Okay, PhD.
Let's do it, PhD.
Love that message and absolutely wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah.
Even the small things. Call your mom, your auntie, your grandparents, answer the call when your friend calls. I know there are some times where someone calls us and I'm like, oh, answer the call.
Yeah.
And then if it goes on too long, let them know, hey, I actually have X, Y, and Z to do. Like, can I give you a call back? I got to let you go. I'm going to go over here and do this.
Yep.
But please consider your humanity and the humanity of others and understand that we all need that sense of connection. And you never freaking know what people are going through.
Facts. You never do.
You never know.
Mm-hmm.
So keep your humanity, everyone. Please.
Keep it.
And that will transition us to our interview segment, our interview with a real one. And today's real one is none other than Mr. LaVontae Hill.
Come on.
He is a clinical social worker, a therapist, a TEDx speaker, and he also hosts some really great mental health workshops. And he's just an amazing asset to the community. So welcome, LaVontae.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for being here. Of course.
It's a pleasure.
Had to do you right.
Come on.
But so our topic today for this episode is we're touching on the loneliness epidemic in the United States. I don't know if you are aware, but the Surgeon General did issue what do you call that? What is it called? Sorry, it's a word.
No,
I
you're
have it in
good.
my thing.
Like I don't know, a report, some.
It's gosh, I can't even think of the word and I didn't write it down. Anyway, the Surgeon General basically entered a decree saying that the loneliness, it is an epidemic in the United States and it does affect people's mental health, physical health, and overall well-being in this country. So with that being our subject, my first question for you is, okay, first I have a stat. A 2021 study says that 1 in 5 men said that they get emotional support from their friends. And that's compared to 4 in 10 in women. So with women, it's almost 50% of women say that they have emotional support in their friends versus 1 in 5, which is, what is that, 10%? That's abysmally low. And so my question for you is, as both a mental health professional and a Black man in America, how do you feel about the reports of male loneliness having greatly increased in this country?
I'll say, the old saying that they say, like, women live longer than men, right? It's very true and it's very apparent. And the reason being for that is because a lot of the times throughout life as a man, you don't really honor the fact that you have emotions. Like you know that you are a man and you know that you can push. You really honor those things of strength, toughness, mental fortitude, being able to get through these things, being able to hold the weight on your back, right? Where women and young ladies at a young age, they feed into emotions. Girl, how you feeling?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
True.
you know what I'm saying, right? Like that's something
sure.
where you really see that very early on, and it's something that becomes more normalized as you get older, right? So it's not taboo to go into that. But as a young man, it's not like, hey, bro, how you feeling? It's like, bro, toughen up. Come on. You shake that off, bro. Shake that off. You good, right? You a man. And so thinking about it as today's time with just the increase of that, it's very apparent and it's very true because a lot of men aren't talking about these things. A lot of men don't talk about what loneliness really means for them, right? Where a lot of the times where they're there for everyone else, but they're so empty inside, right? It's hard to connect with other men because you feel as if you'll be judged. You feel like it's a burden. You feel as if, well, you can't connect to my situation. But the reality of it is that everybody knows what a level of suffering is. Even though it doesn't look like yours or look like mine, I know what it feels like to be in the dumps. I know what it feels like to just feel like life sucks. And a lot of men don't talk about it because it's always been praised to shy away from it. It's always been praised to be the person who can get through everything. And so if you take away that piece, it goes into the space of who am I? Where for young ladies, it's this point of, Oh, we're gonna talk about emotions. We're gonna talk about how I feel. We're gonna talk about, oh, my day was long. Girl, I'm going through all of this. Oh, my hair makes me feel this way. What I got on makes me feel this way. For a man, it's like, oh, well, that's pretty weird. If you're talking about, oh yeah, bro, how does getting your haircut make you feel? I look clean.
He's like, I got a cut. What you talking about?
Like, this is just normal for me. And so that certain type of mindset, it really starts to become embedded into the makeup of men.
Yeah.
And it pushes more of that narrative of just that loneliness. Loneliness is praised upon because you're that person who can hold on to everything. But then we don't talk about how that person that holds on to everything also cries in silence.
That's true. Because we as women, we do talk a lot. And I know I have said this in the past. Like, my type is the strong, silent type. Like, we love a strong, silent man.
Yeah,
but
dark
like,
and brooding.
Is that man
Batman-ish.
healthy? Is that man okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Is the real thing. Because I
that's
think
a big
I
piece.
married a strong, silent type. And I feel like, you know, getting close to him, it's like, okay, I need you to be okay, though. So let's kill the silence. Yes, you're strong, but I ask him all the time, how you feeling today? Like, every day, sometimes multiple times a day. I'll ask him in the beginning of the day and in the end. So how are you feeling? Just because everything that you just said, it is something to where, again, as women, we don't think about it like that.
Yeah.
You want a strong
right.
man, but you don't think about, like, okay, that he's still a person, though.
Literally.
Like, all these feelings I have, he also has.
Yeah.
Like you said, there is a feeling that a man has when he gets a new cut.
There
Right.
is.
It is.
There's
It's
an
just-
energy. You can
yeah,
see it. You
yeah.
see it on him.
It is.
You're like, man, I put it on
Okay.
today, right? You
I
know?
feel like before, because I do have something to add to this, but before we move on, I feel like I've heard this multiple times from both of you. How are you feeling today?
Ooh,
Like,
yeah.
How are you?
How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm in a great space, and I try not to say I'm good because it's so innate. It's automatic for me to say I'm good, right? But I think for myself, I would generally say I'm grateful. Like, I'm grateful just throughout the day. I'm grateful just to be up and just to be able to have the ability to walk, have the ability to talk, to speak. So I'm in this space where I'm just extremely grateful just for what I got right now in this moment, and
I heard that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so then now that we got that, because
Yeah.
we need to make sure that was on the books.
Yeah,
right?
we got to ask you.
I wanted to know, like, I think, Tosh, you just mentioned that, like, you'll talk to your man like, oh yeah, I kind of want you to be a little bit more vulnerable or more open. Or I know sometimes I just recently had a conversation about that, like, with my brother and, other men in my life. And I want to know, like, one, I guess, how realistic is it to ask that of somebody or of a man? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Especially a black man.
especially a black man. Like, is that, I guess, what is a better way to state that,
I would say, first off, it's really just stepping into that discomfort, right? A lot of the times it's not really a right way or a wrong way to say it. It's just the fact that you do. Over time, it starts to open up more of a dialogue, and it starts to become a little bit more natural, because one of those big things, at least how I see it from my perspective, vulnerability for a man is really difficult. And it's really hard to be authentic and open with that, because if I do, that then slashes down that white knight. Right? I'm no longer that knight in shining armor if I show you that I got cracks in my armor. And so just being able to open up that topic, but also from the woman's perspective, is really important to be able to honor, like, hey, I like where you're coming from right now. Like, I see you. I value that. At least if you said Monday, you good, and then on Tuesday when I asked you again, you said, I'm not feeling so great. Like, I love that, right? I don't need you to give me more than what I'm asking. Just tell me where you at right now. And it's that point of
that's
being
a good
okay with that. And that right there is difficult.
Read me. Yeah.
It's difficult, right?
Yeah.
It's a hard piece to get to, because you do wonder, like, okay, am I asking the right thing? Is he not giving me that? But it's also that sense of being compassionate to the fact of, this is a new area. Nobody's ever asked me, how do I feel? Nobody's ever asked me, like, man, is work tough? How does it feel when you go through work and you're lifting all this stuff and then you come home and it's like you got to deal with everything that happens in society? Right? Some of the hardest things for men is when you step out into the world, because the world treats us and sees us in a very different way. Especially as a black man, it's already a preconceived notion before we stepped out the door. Even if we got the accolades and everything else, how you view me won't be the same. How you view me won't be the same how the world does. And so understanding and having a certain level of compassion to the fact of, I don't know what it feels like to be a man, but I know what it feels like to listen. And I know what it feels like to create that space. So just having the openness to create the space, that's really how you do it. It's no right or wrong because everybody's different.
Yeah.
That's true.
Wow, that's really good. I feel like the point of just being like accepting what comes,
Yep.
you know, and not trying to pull out more
Yeah.
is like, wow, that's
Yeah.
And that's hard.
I really love that you asked that because my next question is similar but very specific to men experiencing loneliness. What
okay.
as women and other men too, if we have a cousin or a friend or somebody that we know maybe is that person, we're asking them how they're feeling and they're not really open to it, what are some things that we can do? Maybe some action items. Maybe it's not words. Maybe it's like, how do you support somebody that you know is experiencing loneliness and isolation and you know it's like, hey man, this is not good for your health. You can't go out and say like, bro, you need to get out and come hang out with me. But how do you support somebody going through that? Because I feel like we can all look in our families and know, you know, people, but specifically men too, because again, I just talked about that stat, and for me that was staggering. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of men suffering, and that I know that's tough. Like you said, for all the reasons you just said. So what are some ways that we can help our communities, our men in our communities that are experiencing that?
One, that's a beautiful question. And the reason why I say that is because it's so many different ways that you could do it. A big way is if you recognize, like, okay, man, I know you're struggling. Like, I know you're going through it, right? That's a moment in time where not only you just saying, hey, you're struggling, talk about your struggles. Talk about what you go through, right? As I talked about earlier, that understanding of, I don't know what your suffering looks like. I don't know what your pain looks like, but I've been through pain. I go through stuff, right? You go through stuff. You go through stuff. So if it's not so open and welcoming to the fact of like, hey, what you going through, right? You could come from a place of, man, my day was like this today. You ever feel like that? You ever feel like your days just suck and they not getting easier? Man, somebody gonna respond, but man, I do feel like that sometimes, right? Got you there, right? So it's putting yourself on the chopping block for a difference, right? That's one big way. And the number two is always just opening and keeping that line of connection and communication there. Even though maybe they're like, oh man, I open this space all the time and you don't ever take it. That's the wrong way to go about it. Because just the fact that you're there, that right there is clicking and staying with them. And it's like, man, okay, I ain't never said nothing, but she still keep coming back. She still keep asking me. She still keeps doing this for me. So having that, because once you come in that space of like, man, you don't never talk when I come to you, then it's that guilt. It's that burden.
Or
right?
that expectation.
Right. It's the expectation of like, what if I don't know how to really describe my emotions?
Yeah.
Right. And another thing is, which is really cool, it's learning how to describe your emotions. Like learning what that looks like for you as an adult. How we talk to kids, how we talk to adults. Learning what is that emotional vocabulary for you. Because you could be like, man, I'm sad right now. But in reality, you're really angry. You could be like, man, today was exhausting. But then you're like, man, I'm fatigued because I didn't really sleep. So it's like really building what's your emotional vocabulary, because a lot of people lack that. We usually go mad, sad, angry, upset, right? But we don't look at these things of, okay, what is joy, right? What does that look like? And then it's also what I like to utilize is called the strength perspective. And the strengths perspective really focuses in on what is the strength for you? What is these things that you maybe did not realize were positives, but you've never really like focused in on it. So it's like, okay, you can ask them, what's something that's made you smile today, right? That's different. Like, what do you mean something made me smile, right? What is one small thing that you're looking forward to for the end of the day, right? What do you look forward to when you come home?
A lot more pointed, a lot more specific.
A lot more,
It like kind of forces you to answer, you know what I mean? In a way that's like, okay, let me think about that. Like, what is something that made me smile? I don't know.
Right.
You know, let me get to it.
It's that active listening though. And when we think about active listening, it's the listening not to respond, but it's listening to understand. And so if I tell you one thing where it's like, man, today sucked, I had to do all this stuff at work, a strengths way that I'm looking at it is, man, you really do your job. You don't get enough appreciation for it. You dang right. Right? You know? So
you are absolutely
you're thinking about it a little bit different, but you have to build these certain ways of how to connect, because when someone has that little stone wall there, it's not because I want to push you out. Sometimes it's because I don't even know what that feels like. It's so much fear with me going into it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it out. But if you continue to leave that space open, one day I'm going to open up.
That's true. That's true. That is true. My man opened up.
Right. No,
Eventually.
thankfully. Right. Eventually. I feel like that question, I mean, as you were talking, I'm like, yeah. And I think this is going in a total different direction, but something that just came up was like, how long is too long to wait in a any type of relationship, whether it be with your friend, with your sibling, or with a partner? Like, how long do you give that person? And we don't have to necessarily answer it right here and right now. It's just something that came up that was like, yeah, because I want to like be there, whoever I am, I want to be there for that person and want to wait for them to open up and want to help them, like, feel not like a little less alone. But how long do you keep going back until you're like, all right, well,
I feel like as long as you can feels like the right answer for me. Like it feels like as long as you can wait. Because if it is, say it's a friend and you're trying with that friend, because I've had friends like this where you're trying to, you reach that level, like you said, you leave that space for there to be these types of conversations, and maybe they're just always gonna meet it with hostility or always meet it with like a no. And I've given it some years, and then it's just like, well, maybe we don't talk as much. Maybe maybe it's not meant for us to be this close. And I gave it the try. I still love you, but now I'm over here. And I realize now, like, because sometimes I know you said like, hey, sometimes people have this wall up and it's not because they want to keep you out, but sometimes they do want to keep you out. And I don't think it has anything to do with anyone in particular. I think it is what you said. Like, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of like, this wall's been here so long, I don't even know how to take it down type shit. And I'm not going to do any effort to take it down. So you either cool with being on the other side of it, or you're going to take your leave.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I think for me, I'm not a mental health professional. I just have one.
Okay.
But I would say, like, yeah, as long as you feel comfortable waiting. And then at some point you do got to ask yourself, well, shoot, if this wall never comes down, do I still want to be here? Do I still want to be in a relationship with this person with this wall here? And if the answer is no, then you dip. And if the answer is, yeah, I love this person, and, shit, it's my mom. What am I going to do? I'm just going to be here.
We just don't talk about this.
Yeah,
like,
we just going to be on the other side of the wall. It is what it is. I love you. I'm still here. My question, though, came up, not related, but I've asked my therapist this, and she had her answer. But now I want to know yours. Is there a good way to suggest that someone get therapy?
Oh, like how to say like, oh, you need therapy?
Yeah, like you should talk to someone. How do you do that?
I mean, it depends on a few things, right? I mean, if you want to go like the passive route, it's like, what do you think about talking to somebody? Like, how does that feel, right? If that's a little bit, like, how would you?
Softer approach to question.
If you want to do it like that, right? Kind of give them the autonomy to say like, okay, and you're not saying like, oh, you got a problem. But then when it's a little bit different, right? And for a fact, like, oh man, this is a space. I think that's an important role depending on the person who you're talking to. And then two, it comes to the point of, I don't think it's ever an easy way to say like, hey, you need therapy. Yeah. Right? Unless the person is like in that moment of suffering. That's like one of those big moments where you see like, hey, you're on the decline. I don't know what to do. I can't help. But I think therapy is the best route for you right now. That's one way when it goes more of the drastic route. But I would say if you're just having a conversation, it's an open conversation. Talk about it. I think that's that big piece, and don't make it uncomfortable. So many people have this perception of like, oh, therapy is just this place where you go when you have issues. Nah. Therapy is maintenance.
True.
Therapy can be something that helps you get past a roadblock that stops you in your career. True. Therapy can be something that helps you build better attachments, looks at your attachment styles, looks at what happened when you were younger. You can use it for so many different things, but it's this fixed mindset of like what therapy is. So I would say just have an open conversation and be okay with whatever the person gives you back. Because just because you feel like, oh, therapy would be great for you, which you like, going through it. You're going through a lot right now. You need somebody to talk to.
You need a professional,
right? But it's also being empathetic to the fact of therapy not for everybody.
That is true.
And be okay with the fact of, okay, if I come tell you like, hey, I think going to a therapist and speaking to somebody and being able to share your truth would help you out, and they don't receive it that way, and they're like, oh, what you mean I got a problem? I never said you got a problem, but I do think you need a space to talk. I can't be that space no more because it's affected me.
Yeah.
So this is
That'd
what
be
you can
what
do.
it
And then
is.
at that point, it's as we talked about a little earlier, you allow for them to decide. And you wash your hand with whatever they give you, but that doesn't mean that you don't got to bring it up again.
Okay, I have a question on that.
Okay.
So, do you think ethically, I suppose,
Okay.
it make like
Okay.
if you were in a situation to where you're in a relationship with a partner, and you're like, if you don't go to therapy, then we can't work.
Oh, the ultimatum.
An ultimatum.
Oh.
Is that like, how do you feel about that?
That's never gonna work. I mean, and okay, so that's like a catch-22. It's like a double-edged sword. And the reason why I say that is because some people look at it and take it in as like, okay, I really want my relationship. Just like Tasha had said earlier, like if you really want to be here, I'm gonna make up in my mind like this is for me.
Right.
Right. But then some people look at it as, oh, well, you've been real controlling. Like, why would you try to put the relationship at the lengths of going to therapy? Like, we so much more, we've been together for so long. Then it goes into like, now we've been ego driven, right? And so in that point, when it comes to just that hardship in a relationship, I would say opening up that conversation, when it's hard to even tell your partner like, hey, go see a therapist, right? Like that's not the easiest. That's not the easiest thing, right? And I mean, you can come to a point like, trying to get some therapy, like it's a me and you thing, right? But I also think having that dialogue and that conversation of, hey, it's not easy, but I want to see if this is something that you think. And if you're the partner that's recommending it and that person is going to therapy, be open to going to therapy with the person. Be open. And it doesn't have to be couples therapy, but it's like, oh, I'm going to support you. I'm going to take you to your meetings. I'm going to take you to your sessions. Oh, if I can, ask your therapist, get consent, let me be a part of it so I can understand what y'all working on. Be a part of the process with them if you're the one that's going to recommend it. Don't just say like, oh, yeah, go out and do that. And now you got a therapist, right? Like, I'll see you at home. I'll be cooking. You go do your thing at therapy. So I would say just being able to go down that journey with them and being accepting to the fact of, hey, this is tough for you, but I'm willing to go through that rough road with you. Let's go do it. It makes it a little bit easier when you're talking about relationships because, some people, and I mean, that mindset is still there. Like, it's taboo. So as soon as you say therapy, like, oh, you think I got a problem?
Right.
And it's not. It's so many
crazy?
different benefits. Right? That crazy term is just thrown out there, right? And it's really like, nah, I just want you to grow.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Interesting.
Okay, yeah. I think I agree that but I know I would just say there are times where someone does have a problem and you're like, I'm seeing this problem and I think somebody should help you through it.
Yeah. Can't be me.
And it can't be me.
You do have a problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I know there's no nice way to say that.
Yeah.
Because if someone told me I had a problem, I'd be like, okay, fuck you.
Because it can be weaponized.
Yep.
Like, you need therapy. Like, if you say it like that, it's like, oh my God. Excuse you?
What you really mean?
Yeah,
Tell me
what
how
you
you
really
really
mean.
feel. Yep.
Because like when you say it like that, you are calling me crazy.
100%.
You are. You're
You
literally
are.
saying
100%.
like, I'm mentally not okay.
Unstable.
Is what you're trying to say. Like, I'm okay.
And I might be that, but let me get my way.
But
Right.
let me decide.
Yeah.
Let me
that.
figure out I need therapy. Not you telling me I need
Yeah,
therapy. It's a
yeah.
little bit different when you say it.
But I would just say, as someone who has been in therapy since 2020, it is something where you'll hear someone sharing some stuff and you're just like,
Red flag.
you would love therapy.
Yep.
Like that's
Yep.
usually what I'll say. Something like, I think you would really love it. I think you would love it. You're, the way just this conversation,
It's telling
you should tell this to someone with a license
Yeah.
to practice. Because I have some stuff I could say, but I'm not qualified to say that. I can't say that.
Truly.
I know what my therapist would say if I said that to her.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I have said that to her, and I can tell you what she said, or I could tell you you should get your own therapist and listen to what they got to say. 'Cause they'll get you together.
Yes, they will.
Right. They'll get you right. They'll get you right.
But okay, so my next question is a little more personal. What attracted you to the mental health sector?
Yeah. Curious.
Okay, let me be real with y'all. Let me be real. I can be real with y'all.
This
course.
had to be
This is
real.
a real
On the
space.
real, right? Okay.
You are a real one.
Right.
We'd expect nothing less.
So for me, like I said earlier, I've always loved academics, right? And so when I first went to college, Sacramento State,
Hey, stingers
freshman year,
up.
big stingers, you know what it is. So I went to Sacramento State. I was on the path of being a kinesiology major. And because I played sports growing up, that was pretty much all I knew. But I always worked with youth growing up. I was always at the Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, all throughout my life. That's really where it started,
Samesies.
me wanting to work with kids. See, that's where it starts. And so that was like embedded into my makeup growing up. but I always knew I liked sports. So I was like, all right, I'm going kinesiology. Took a bio class, prerequisite, not even a prerequisite, just basic class. I got my first C in my life, ever in college. First C I've ever had in my life. And I looked at myself, I said, yeah, if I'm getting a C in bio, I'm not getting anything else in any of these classes. Because that's the only C I got. Everything else was an A. Got a C in that. So I said in that moment, I was like, yeah, this really ain't for me. It can't be for me if I'm getting a C in something that I want to do.
Wow.
And so I had to sat down and really think. And I was like, man, what can I do? Like, what is really at the core of who I am? And somebody was like, what about social work? Now, me growing up in the hood, only thing I knew about social work was CPS. And I was like, nah, I'm cool with all that. I ain't trying to take no kids. Like, I'm not about that. I don't really like that life. And they were like, oh, well, you ignorant to it because social work is more broad than what you think.
It is.
I ended up seeing social work and I was like, they had school social work, they had forensic social work, they had clinical, medical. And I was like, nobody ever told me this. All I knew was CPS.
Literally.
And so at that point,
you telling me something new right now?
Oh, for real.
So at that point, I took my first class for social work and literally I took my first course and I said, oh, this is me. This is where I rock. I was like, this is where I rock the values, the core principles, the theories, the perspectives. I was like, oh, this is me.
Yeah.
And so what that did, fast forward, going into my senior year where we have to do a practicum in our major, we go to the field fair and two places wanted me bad. So CPS wanted me. They were like, yeah, you're the guy for us. We see how you talk. We see what you're doing. It was like, we want you to be with us.
Like, no,
come
thank
and
you.
do it. And I was like, nope. I do not want to be with y'all.
Yeah.
And so then I ended
Too
up
much.
seeing this woman at this time. Her name, she was my supervisor. Her name was Irene Call. And
What up, Irene?
she's retired now. Shout out to her. That was the guru of all gurus for me when I first started. And she ended up talking to me and I was talking with her. Now, mind you, everybody wanted to be at this internship because it was in the medical sphere. So everybody wanted to be too. I'm talking about everyone, but they only had one spot. And she talked to me, spoke with me. As soon as she got done, she said, LaVontae, we want you.
Oh,
And I was like, no way. I was like, I don't know nothing about like mental health. Now, mind you, at this time, mental health not really a thing I'm really knowing about. So it's like, I know it's a thing, but me having the same mindset, I came from the hood. So I ain't thinking nothing of it. I'm like, mental health. Okay, let's see what we doing.
Right.
And I was like, okay, y'all gonna bet on me? She was like, we'll bet on you. I said, then I'm rocking with y'all. I ended up going to the internship. First day there, I was like, wow, this is similar to me working with kids at the Boys and Girls Club, but I'm doing it in a different way. Or the YMCA, and I'm doing it in a different way. And when I really started to notice that these little black kids, these little kids of color that's living in impoverished communities that are labeled as at risk, when I started to see that all these kids that have ADHD and these different type of like developmental delays or they have these mental illnesses, these kids were living through trauma. And the people don't see the trauma. So these kids are diagnosed as ODD, right? These kids that are oppositional, these kids that are defiant. And it's like,
Defiant.
nah, it's
that's
the trauma you go through. Like they're living through realities where it's gunshots every single time, right? You go home and you go to a place where it's nice and it's warm. These kids are having to go places where they don't know if they're going to eat.
Right. Food insecurity.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started to see these different things and I was like, whoa, this is where I'm supposed to be at. Like this right here. And as soon as I say probably like a month went by, I said, yeah, I'm gonna be a therapist. And then that was it. And I told my job, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a therapist, so y'all get ready. And they said, they said, do your master's. I said, yeah, I'm gonna get that.
I got that.
Hey, we love it.
And that was it. That's where it started for me.
Okay, so my next question is, on your journey through all of that to becoming a mental health professional, what did you learn about your own mental health and your own things that needed to be healed, and what was, your process of starting to heal your own?
I would say, man, it wasn't even about like me going into the mental health realm that really taught me things about my own mental health, because it's still at that point, they really teach you to, when you go into these sessions with these clients, you are not yourself. You're the professional. So what you go through in your regular life, that does not work here, because those certain things you will start to attach onto their stories. You'll start to attach onto what they're doing, because you're like, well, that sounds really similar. Like, I done been through a lot in my life. Is this what I got? So you really have to think about sense of self, and you have to separate that when you go into this space. And so when I was going into there, I wasn't really even thinking about my own mental health or thinking that I needed to focus on it. I knew that it was certain things that would affect me. And I just started to get the terminology of it, right? Really started to see what anxiety really looks like, how it manifests. What does it look like for you mentally? What does it feel like for you somatically, physically?
Yeah.
And I was getting all the knowledge around it. And it wasn't until 2019, September, Remember, like, no tomorrow.
I know the exact.
Like, no tomorrow.
Yes.
Got up, and that was my first episode of dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder. And I didn't know nothing about it. And so, surprisingly, right, me being a therapist, I'm like, come on, I know all about anxiety. I know about these things. Like, what's going on with me? But it was a certain intrusive thought that just kept sitting on my brain, sitting on my brain. And I didn't know what was going on, didn't know anything of it. And that was that moment where I was like, whoa, my mental health is not okay. Because I was always very self-aware, so I knew something was off. And I knew I didn't care about the thoughts that I was having. I didn't care about what was going on. I never tripped off of it. But in that moment, in that time, it was as if I couldn't think about anything else.
Wow.
So I went from being this person that was charismatic, joyful, went throughout life, really happy, ready to succeed in life, to then I'm not even getting out the bed. When I'm going to go see clients, I'm sitting in my car for like 8 hours because I'm just like sitting here obsessing the whole entire time. And so with my diagnosis, it's called obsessive compulsive disorder, but it's specifically pure O, which means pure obsessional. And what that means is that it's all here. So I could be having all these intrusive thoughts and you wouldn't even know because I'm smiling. So it was really hard for me to tell anybody like what's going on, or even explain to them like, how are you smiling right now? And you said you're going through mental anguish.
Literally.
Right? And I remember this so vividly. This is what really showed me that I had to do that work. Because during this time, I learned a lot of things about myself. I learned the difficulty that I had with vulnerability. My older brother told me about that. He was like, man, you're going to have to be vulnerable. And I cried so much going through this process. For 3 years, going to therapy, everything like that. It was so ironic for me because I was like, I'm a therapist going to therapist. That's kind of weird. But I was like, it helps.
But
right?
honestly, how else are you going to get
exactly.
Everybody needs somebody.
Right.
Period.
And see, my mindset was like, oh, well, you a therapist. You should be able to diagnose yourself. But then I had to take a step back and I was like, nah, dude, this is something that's happening that's unforeseen, right?
I be feeling like about that, like with parents, like just because you're a mom doesn't know, or just because you have a mom doesn't mean you know how to be a mom, or a dad doesn't mean you know how to be a dad.
That's
so
true.
So I feel you.
And that happened with me where it was like all these things that I felt were values, things that were embedded and ingrained into me. A lot of the big things were what happens in the house stays
in the house.
Right? That was a key thing, right? So I felt like
Mm-hmm.
I was like disrespecting my family. So it was this guilt that I felt with it. And I'm like, all these things are happening in waves. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm just trying to go to work and succeed. I was like, a brother for the graduate from USC with the master's, like, I'm just trying to succeed.
Yeah.
But in this moment, so many things were coming at me. And I remember one day we went to a training and we went to this training and it was a training based on DBT, which is dialectic behavioral therapy. It's a certain modality that's utilized within therapy. And it's all these great interventions that you can utilize for it. And somebody made a joke. Everybody in the training session just started crying, laughing, right? In my head, I said, laughter. And at that moment, I was like, yeah, something's wrong with me.
You said the word laughter?
Yep, didn't laugh at all.
Damn.
And
You
so
said laughter out loud.
I said it in my head. I just was like, laughter.
Yeah.
And I didn't laugh at all. And so when I left from out of there, I just knew. I instantly wrote my therapist and I was like, what is going on? I don't feel anything. I don't know what's happening. She was like, that's called apathy. And that was my first time where I really was like, whoa, like what's happening? All these different things that I didn't know what was going on. And so throughout that process of me being diagnosed and me really seeing my mental health decline and really being in an episode, that going over a span of 3 years to where I would get up every day and I would obsess over the same thing. And I would just be like, how am I going to get to tomorrow? Like I didn't even know to see me here today, wouldn't even imagine it. In 5 years ago, wouldn't imagine it. And it was one day where I got up and this is why I really seen like, I got to work on my mental health. And that was that, okay, as a man, I got to be vulnerable, right? Yeah. That was being real. This is before I even got into therapy because I was like, nah, we gonna rock it out. I got some modalities. I got some things I can do. I'm gonna write some stuff down and get my stuff together because I help kids all the time. Yeah. Like, I ain't an imposter to this. I'm true to this. I ain't new to it. So I'm like, come on, let's rock. Let's do it. And one day I got up, 6 o'clock in the morning, I got up. First thought on my mind, kid you not, vividly, it was suicide.
Oh, no.
And I was like, why am I thinking about the same thought? Like it's in my brain. And I'm like, I just got up from a good sleep. Like I'm about to go cook. Like, I'm trying to be there and I'm laying down and I get up, I go in the shower and my mind is still saying like suicide. And the thing is with OCD, it says so many different intrusive thoughts. But the thing that I've learned so much is that how can you answer something which you're also giving the question to? And so when you in that high state of anxiety, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
Like you know, and OCD is known as the doubting disease because you could think something. How would you know it's a reality?
Ooh.
Because you're just thinking it. You could think another thought and then another thought comes and it's like, which one's true, right?
Yeah.
And so when you get connected to it, right, you know, when you get connected to it, it's hard to detach. And so when I was in that moment and I kept thinking suicide, my thoughts were going like, oh, well, your thoughts aren't aligning with you might as well take your life, right? You might as well do this, right? So imagine that by yourself. And so that one thought just had popped up and it was like, if your thoughts can't align with who you are, you don't deserve to be here. And in that moment, I was like, yep, I need some help because I want to live.
Yeah.
And that was the switch. I texted my brother instantly. I was like, hey, I'm finna go to therapy, man. He was like, yep. I was like, hey, I'm finna step into it. And so in that moment, I mustered up the courage to reach out to a therapist. Luckily, I was able to get that response really quickly. And that right there changed everything. And when I was able to be in a space where other individuals who literally, like you wouldn't even think, but they all dealt with OCD. But the thing that was so interesting was that everybody's thoughts were just like one another's, even though everybody had different things. Everybody had different things. And I was like, man, why do my thoughts keep coming as what if? Or it'll be these moments of where we work through a certain thing. I'm no longer anxious. And I'm like, does that mean like the theme is real now? And they're like, oh no, that's a part of it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I started to learn a lot of stuff about myself, but I also started to learn like how my mind has been working throughout my entire life, how my anxiety has played a role in so many parts of my life. But growing up, nobody ever told me that.
Yeah.
I mean, I done went through so much stuff from trauma, from seeing different things. I done got shot at multiple times as a kid. I got shot at when I was 12, again when I was 17. All of it wasn't for me, but it was, I mean,
It still happened to you.
It happened, right?
Yeah.
And it was
Still your
never a
experience.
processing of it. It was never a, how do you feel about that? It was like,
I'm in
that's-
survival mode.
Thank
Right.
God you made it.
Yeah.
right. It
So
was
let's
like,
keep
all right,
going.
you live today. You live today. Now let's go to school tomorrow.
Exactly.
Right? And so I never understood why my anxiety was so high. And I never understood what the impacts of trauma was. And when I really learned it, it was the body keeps the score.
Yeah.
Yep.
What the brain forgets, the body remembers.
Say it
And
again.
so that right there was such a key
Jesus.
component for me with understanding and learning about my mental health. But I had to go through all of those different things to see how bad my mental health was, but also to rebuild a lot of those negative ways of thinking, those negative ways of like focusing on stuff that I had throughout life because I was in survival.
Yeah.
Right. And we like to look at resiliency as this super great thing, which it is. But resiliency looks like survival when you're not really doing anything for it.
I'm saying, and that survival mode is something that you don't even realize. Like for me, that's like one of the first things that your therapist helps you to do is to shift out, like get your mind out of survival mode.
Yep.
And you don't realize you're there until you're out. And you realize
'Cause
like,
it's
dang,
normal.
all I was thinking about was just make it, like you said, just make it through tomorrow. Let's just get what's
Get to
next.
the next
What's
day.
next, what's next, what's next.
Yeah.
Not like, okay, what was that? You
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
Like how often is that something that we do? And you know, it's a very big shift, like you said, into you know, from, you know, oh, what's next, what's next to, okay, what was that?
Yep.
And then, oh, this thought came, instead of ignoring it and pushing it aside, let's sit with it for a second and figure out, what is this? What is it telling us? Why is this here?
Seriously.
So that's huge. And
It's a shift.
It
It's a
is.
shift. It's a huge shift that we don't normally get, right? And
Yeah.
as you say, it was a curated space for you to be able to do that.
yeah,
A lot of the times, as a person of color, we don't get that.
we don't.
Like, got
Or
a
we
lot
don't
of
even
people around
think
us.
we deserve it.
Exactly.
Because
right?
I had a lot of guilt going into therapy
guilt
of
is
feeling
so real.
like guilt and shame. Like, should I even be doing this right now? Shouldn't I be working? Shouldn't I be doing X, Y, and Z? I don't need to do that. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. But then you're like, girl, yes, there is. First of all, you got some stuff that you need to work on. And two, you do deserve to sit with your feelings. You do deserve to feel your feelings. And it's big to to give yourself permission
Yeah.
to feel how you feel.
the permission.
Absolutely,
We're not taught for
absolutely.
it.
We're not.
We're not
There's
taught
like
to put
fix your face and
ourselves
go.
there.
You know, and I used to tell myself that. So like really, like I really resonate with you saying that of like, okay, I need to actually feel this feeling and like I said, give myself permission to feel how I feel. And it's okay.
Yes.
The shift.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the shift with resiliency as it is compared to survival, how I have like kind of phrased it, it's when you think about resiliency, it's the what have I built to get through this next challenge, and survival is I need to get and I have to get through this challenge, right?
Desperation.
It's two different ones, right? What did I learn that's going to get me through it, and I have no other choice but to go forward.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like I definitely, and I've talked about it a lot on the show, but I've absolutely struggled with anxiety a bunch. And like to the point where at one point I was having panic attacks multiple times a day, every single day, like just feeling like death was upon me. You know what I mean? Like no control, out of control. But, things happened. Found therapy, thankfully, and I also found activity, getting out of my head, because mine is very also heady, out of my head and into my body, and trying to figure out, okay, what does my body need, and how can I like get into this so that my mind can follow suit, But I saw your article in your Instagram on the Observer, which shout out to a Black publication.
Yes, I love that. Such a great article.
Thank you.
And you mentioned wounded healer, like yourself as a wounded healer. And I feel like I'm picking up a lot of that from this story that you just shared. But I really want to know, I guess, where were you specifically coming from when you mentioned that?
Okay.
Or what does it mean to you? And also, how does it help you in your career, like being a therapist for young people, being that wounded healer?
So I have this. So wounded healer is something that I built when I got out of therapy, and I honestly felt like I was on the other side. Right, I was on the other side of just being able to be like, okay, I made it in a way. and it's funny because I go back and forth with my older brother about this, the terminology of wounded healer, because when you hear that, it's more like shamanist, right? It's like, oh, you're healing people, and it could be perceived that way, but the way that I look at it, and I've explained it to him as well, it's more, I have wounds on me that people can't see. These are the wounds that I carry on my back all day long. And I use that as a way for me to connect, as a way for me to be able to instill, as a way for me to give hope and inspire in a way, because I understand exactly what it feels like to be at the lowest. And I also understand what the mental can now do and how it can cripple you. For me, when I think about being a wounded healer, it's me being someone that isn't afraid of those scars that I have. I no longer shy away from it. I give a certain amount of honor to my story, because without it, I wouldn't be here. Right. And although it sucked me going through that hard time that I went through, I built so much about myself that I've never been able to see otherwise throughout that process. And I was able to recognize how bad these values that I've built have crippled me throughout my life. And I wouldn't have been able to do it if I didn't go through that journey. And even not just my mental health journey, just the traumas that I've went through, all of these different things that I've experienced throughout life and that I've witnessed to, those things I carry with me. They don't go away, but I'm also not going to tuck my tail and say that these things didn't happen, so that when I do share that with people, it's like, oh, you went through that? I thought you were silver spoon. Not at all. Not at all. And I do it with a sense of pride, because I know people go through a lot of stuff, but a lot of the stuff we don't want to share, and we feel like it makes us less than. Man, I went through so much stuff, but look at me. I done went to one of the top private colleges, and I flourished. I'm top honor with some of the best and the best. And it's like, I'm not, hey, my story is much different, but I'm here. Right. And so when I think about using that idea of me being a wounded healer, even when I go into this space working with youth, predominantly youth of color, I go in there in a way where it's like, hey, and I feel like I'm very untraditional. I tell everybody I'm an untraditional therapist.
We love an untraditional therapist.
I tell them straight up, I'm like, I'm going to keep it a band with you. I'm untraditional, man. And that's just how I rock. I'm going to come in here with the rings. I'm going to come in here with the necklace, all the different things. And they're like, man, why you dressed like this? And it's like, cause, dude, you don't gotta be what the world wants you to be. Because when you see me, you can have an idea, but guess what? Once I speak with you and we connect, you like, oh snap. Like, and I think a testament to that really is when, so I was meeting with one of these clients, and he really thought I was silver spoon. Like, cause the way I sit, what I had on, he was like, you don't really know about the struggle. I'm like, huh? I was like, what?
Okay.
And so
watch out the assumptions.
He came to me and he was just like, nah, you don't really know about like all this stuff. And he was talking about marijuana. And I'm like, okay. he was like, oh yeah, I be smoking that za. And I'm like, oh, I was like exotic. He was like, how you know about that? I was like, dude, like, am I like prehistoric? Like people know about this in the world. He was like, oh, you tight. He was like, oh, you tight. I was like, dude, let's just converse. Like, I was like, let's just, and at that point, it was like something that's so minor. Me just having some type of information and knowledge about something that's in his world made him feel like, dude, you got this background, you got these accolades. When I come into your office, I see this, I see that. They praise you, but you really know my experience. And so it's so different because the lived experience has allowed for me to flourish so much within the work that I do, because I think the book knowledge is beautiful. Like I love it, I praise it. But I also know there's a limitation, because when I go out and I look at everything in the book, and I go into this situation, it's going to look like a polar opposite. And this kid is not going to respond like it's going to respond on this next page that I read.
Exactly.
Right? And so I use what I've went through. And when I see these kids that's going through these challenges, and the teachers look at it as like, oh, well, this kid is messing up. And then I'm like, but nobody's connecting with him. You're not even seeing this kid. And when this kid, why is this kid always sleeping in my class? Well, that's because they don't have nothing to eat at home, and he having to take care of his little siblings. But you don't see that, and I do.
Exactly.
And so those are those areas of where I can connect. Those are those areas of where I see that's on a deeper level, but it allows for me to reach the kids and allows for them to give me a certain connection. And we have that working relationship where it's like, hey, you see me, you going to meet me where I'm at. But also, if we want to get on the level where it's like we talk about hood stuff, it's like, oh, you're not pushing it away. I do a great thing where like I said, untraditional. But I started this probably like a few years ago in my practice when I was working with clients, and kid came in there. He was like, oh, I know all the hood songs. I'm like, cool. Okay, what you got?
I know all the hood songs.
He was like, I know all the hood songs. And I'm like, okay, what you got? And
Kids.
And he was like, yeah, this is like the songs that I listen to. Like they all about this. And I said, okay, tell me a song. And he told me a song name, and I was like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna listen to this song fully, curse words, everything. That's fine. Yeah. What I want you to do is write down what's your favorite lyric. He wrote down a favorite lyric, and I said, why you like that lyric? He was like, well, it kind of reminded me of my life. And I was like,
Let's get into that.
Connection.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Connection, right?
Yes.
Here we go. And so it gives me a little bit more of a ability to connect and to really meet the individuals that I work with where they're at.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. And let me just say, just as, you know, my therapist is a Black woman, and just to, one, you're working with the youth, so that's even more, there's like multiple ways that you're helping these kids. One, you're helping them to see someone like me can get where this person is.
Literally.
If he can do this, I can do this
I can
too.
do this.
And then on another level, like something you said that really was poignant to me was you see the kids. These people aren't seeing these kids, and you know, they're seeing them, but they're seeing this much of them versus you walking in and seeing like, oh, okay, I see all that's going on right now.
You're a whole human.
I see that there's more to this than defiance. There's more to this than you don't care about this class. There's more to it. You have things going on. And that's really important, because I think we can all think back to our youth and think to times where people just didn't see us, and how painful that is, and how even as a child, you don't have the words, you don't have even the understanding to know why it hurts so much, but it hurts a lot. And you feel like you're like looking around and maybe even trying to reach out to people, and no one, they're just looking at you, and their response is always like, just go sit down. Why don't you just go play? Why don't you just da, da, da. And you're not depressed. You just go depress them dishes, and you're just like, okay, no one sees me for who I am. And so like to have someone like you in those spaces, it really, really makes me feel really good about not just the work that you're doing, but also the fact that there are people like you, because I know you're not the only one, that are out here with these kids and, you know, pouring back into, you know what I mean? Because it's easy to look at the youth and say like, oh, I went through it, they'll be okay. And it's harder to be like, nah, how can we be better? How can we be better for these kids and set a better example? So I just want to give you the kudos for that. Thank you for that. Like I'm loving hearing the stuff that you're doing. And even the stuff that I can see, because I see you don't post like the whole workshop, obviously, but you'll post different reels, and it'll be you talking to the groups of kids, and they look really engaged. You also look like you're like glowing. You're beaming. Like you look absolutely like you are in your element.
I'm in that zone.
Yeah, like you love to be there. and that also makes a huge difference. Like you're there and you're smiling, you're engaged, like you said, like I'm gonna listen to this song with you. I'm gonna see what's going on. I'm gonna talk to you like you're a person, and like I care about what you have to say. So that is awesome.
Come on,
For real.
honor that.
Truly.
Really awesome. But my next question is, you're a runner. I'm a runner, as you may know. And you organized the 5K, which was Run for Your Life, which was really dope. It was such a dope space.
Thank you.
But, you know, it brings, you talk about bringing awareness to mental health and the role that it plays in the physical. One of the things that you said was where the mental meets the physical. Yep. What role has running played in your healing journey? And, you know, when did you start making that connection yourself?
All right, so 2022, I started to run. As I had said earlier, my mental health had declined in 2019. 2022 was kind of where I was like getting my groove back. It was where I was about to graduate out of therapy. All of these different things were happening. Throughout that time, though, I gained 50 pounds. So I had went from 155 to about 213 pounds. Wow. Largest I had ever been. It struck my self-esteem, my self-image. I felt horrible. I feel it. Man, I'm talking about I went to work, I met with a client, I sat down, my pants ripped. So I was like, things real different right now for me. And it's just, so just think about it. It's just adding on top of everything. And I'm like, when did I get like this? Right? And so with running, I had my older brother, he had first, and a lot of things happen with me and the bond of my older brother and just a lot of the things that we talk about and what he instills into me. So
yeah, shout out to LaVontae.
Right. LaVontae Hill, that guy.
Yeah, he's dope. That's how we met actually.
Right.
Because LaVontae, he's very, very dope person.
And with that, what happened was he had started to run and he was like, you know, I'm gonna start running more just like mentally, just to kind of have a space for myself. And I was like, okay, make a lot of sense. My therapist at the time had said, well, you know, like try physical exercise. And I was like, I'm big now. Like I ain't really with that, even though I've always been very athletic. I had went to go get on the treadmill and I ran for like 10 minutes. I'm like, whoa, we out of here.
Yeah.
We about to go cook.
Maxed out.
Right. I was like, I got clam chowder I want to make. Food, right? And the next thing you know, I ended up going back and I was like, wow, it felt different for me. I felt happier. Because at that time, I would feel very apathetic. My emotions would go in waves where I would feel good one moment and then it would just be bad for me.
Yeah.
But after that one time, I went again and I was like, whoa, really feeling good. Like, I don't know what it is, but I just feel good. I started to make it more of a routine where I would put working out into my regimen. And I started to see progress. I started to lose a little weight on top of me working out. And I was like, okay, cool. My brother's like, hey, treadmill is cool, but it's going to hurt your knees after a while. You keep doing it like that. And I was like, oh, you make sense. Okay, so what should I do? He was like, try running outside. I was like, oh, you know, it's kind of raining. You know, I don't really want to do that. He was like, nah, try it.
The elements.
And so I used to run with music. And I was like, okay, yeah, music is pushing me. It's pushing me. And my brother had told me one day, just like, he was like, try without it. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, that's kind of weird. I want to just be there with my thoughts.
Hearing all your...
Right, just everything, right?
It definitely
Like,
make you feel
really
more
do.
tired.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's hard to push when you're not just on autopilot because the music got you going. And so I had did it once and I was like, it was a lot harder, but I got through it though. And
You
so
did it.
at that point, 2022, towards like the ending of the year, I was like, never again will I run with music. And what happened at that point, everything started to change. I started to see how my mind thinks when I don't want to do something, right? I was like, man, let me just do 1 mile. And I was like, but I set out to do 3. But my mind's like, oh, no, just do 1. You could do the rest another day. And I'm like, nah, let's push, right? And then I would feel like, okay, I had went down a path one time and I was like, oh, man, maybe I just need to stop. And it was like, nah, dude, you went down the wrong way. Turn back around, let's keep it going, right? And I started to really see like how my mind becomes super negative. I started to see what it feels like when I get tired. Like when I run all the time, I get a right abdomen cramp right at the top every single time, no matter what. And I wouldn't have recognized that had I not ran.
True.
And when I have it, it's like, okay, I've been here.
Yeah.
Like I've been here before. I know what this feels like. I know what this means. I know how long it's going to stay. If I keep going, it goes away. If I stop, I know what happens.
Yeah.
Everything's going to just relax and be cool, right? I already know what's going to happen when I do that. And so I was able to really start to see these benefits that come from me running, but also running without music. And I really start to build a better relationship with myself because given the fact that I have the intrusive thoughts just so consistently, now at this point it's much less, because it's a few years down the line where I've been able to manage a lot of things. But at this point, it's like when these intrusive thoughts come, I'm out there in the fire with it now. I'm in the run. I'm inviting it like, okay, what's up? What else you got to say? Yeah. Okay, we saying this, now that, right? And so then when I get out of the run, it's like, okay, I didn't went through all those intrusive thoughts. Let's start the day. Yeah. Because I know what's going to be brought to me throughout my day, and I just got through it then on something that was way more taxing on my body. Let's get through it. And that was able to help me see that it's where the mental meets the physical, because it was so many moments where I used to have really bad knees, and my knees were shot. I'm talking about I'm out there like, do I need surgery? Oh, but it's like in this moment when I'm running, mentally I just click in like, let's go. Let's keep going. Like, and then boom, knee stops hurting. Whoa. Knee stops hurting. Shin starts hurt. Shin stop hurting. And I'm just going. And so I started to learn so much about how when my physical feels like it's about to break down, my mental starts to click in. And I wouldn't have learned that had I not stopped listening to music while I do my runs. And that's just been something now where if I'm doing a workout, I don't have no music. If I'm running, I don't have no music. And I'm no longer limited, because I used to be like, oh, it's not my phone dead. Right. I ain't trying to do this. I ain't trying to listen to the gym music. Yeah. Right. I'm trying to do that. But now at this point, it's like, oh,
you're not dependent on anything.
Nothing. Right? Yeah. And that's a big way of how I started to connect that with life. Like I used to feel like I was so dependent on things, but now I get up and go. I want to go run, I go run. If I want to go to the gym, cool. I know I don't need anything other than my watch. And then outside of that, boom. And that's where it played the biggest role in the sense of where that mental meet the physical for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that when we did that, you didn't say that there was no headphones in the post about the 5K.
I made a few little stories about it, though.
I didn't see those. I just saw the thing. I was like, I'm going. But it was interesting for me because I lost my headphones. Like I had some AirPods, they stopped working, and I had some wired ones, and I lost them. And I was like, I need to get some new ones, but then it just wasn't in the budget. I was like, okay, it's not a need, and I have other things that I need to take care of financially, so I'll order these another time. Then it slipped my mind, and so then working in, because I run, like 2 to 3 times a week, and so when I went, was my first run day, I was like, oh shoot, I don't have any headphones. Am I gonna still go? And I was dressed. I was ready to go. One of the things, the headphones is one of the last things you grab to go, and I was like, well, I mean, I gotta go, but when was the last time I ran with no headphones? Well, hey, I guess we're gonna do it today, right? And I was running, and it was also nighttime, so I had a little flashlight, and I was just going. And at first, it was very cringy to hear my, but then I was like, okay, well, how can I make it, something that I actually want to hear? How can I? It drew my attention to my breath. Once it drew my attention to my breath, and I was able to, I don't know, just kind of lock in, like you said, where I'm just like, okay, I'm paying attention to my breath, and that's it. It's just me and my breath out here. It really transformed my running. I always thought of running as meditation, and I would listen to meditation music. Come on. But it's a different level of meditation when it's just you.
Locking in.
Yeah, for the 5K, I was like, okay, I had just got some new headphones, and I was ready to put them on, and then you're like, no headphones. I was like, oh, okay, all right, I've been here. Like you said, I've been here before. I know how to do this.
Come on, love that.
Ooh, that's awesome. I have one last thing, super lighthearted, super easy. So, do you have any hidden talents that nobody knows about? If so, what
that's
are
a
they?
good question.
Yeah, hidden talents. I think a lot of people know about it now at this point. Like, I love fashion. I love styling.
Fashion killer.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
I love, and I've really started to learn throughout this year that I really love to create things that are aesthetically pleasing. And that would be in all shapes, whether it's videography, whether it's photography. I model, so that's probably a big thing. If you follow me on social media, I'm near. And a lot of my outfits that every outfit that I wore per se, I've styled it myself. Nice. And so these certain things, I've always loved it. It's always been a part of me since I was a kid. So it's now something that I feel like I'm blossoming more into, because now I'm doing it on a much more consistent basis, more than what I've done before. So that's probably, and also I like to cook, so I cook a lot.
Okay,
so, that's one of those big things. That's one of those big things that I do a lot.
What you be cooking?
Oh man, so I'll say every week I do a stir fry, whether it's turkey or chicken. Always
Love
do
a
that.
stir fry.
Since it's getting cold, I don't know if y'all know about this. Y'all know what Frito pie is?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know about Frito pie?
What's
So my
Frito pie?
grandparents from the South. So
Okay.
so basically, you got Frito the chip, you got the Frito chips.
Okay.
And
That's where
so
Frito
since
comes
I don't eat red meat, I don't eat red meat or pork just because of my appendix. I can't do it. But so what you'll do is you'll get like salsa and or you get like chili, whatever you want to do. So I use like vegetarian chili. Put that on there. You get salsa. You get Frito chips. You get cheese. And you basically make it like as if you were layering lasagna.
Oh.
And so what you do at the end, you'll do your meat, you do your onions, whatever the case may be, you put your sauce, your chili, you kind of mix that in together. You layer your cheese, you put your Fritos in there, lay it up. So some people do like the hot Fritos with the original Fritos, kind of give it that pizzazz.
Chili cheese
add your
Fritos.
cheese on there,
Chili
and then you
cheese
put it in the
Frito.
oven, bake it up, get that crisp and a nice crunch on it, and it's showtime.
Oh, shoot.
So
I haven't had one of them
comfort food.
forever.
Yeah.
That sounds like
Like when I was living in
it's fire.
Oklahoma.
a party hors d'oeuvre.
Oh, it's fire.
that-
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
That's that one.
My last question is, what advice do you have for those who are struggling with finding a good therapist? Or what are some qualities you recommend people in finding a good match?
Okay.
It's a good one.
I got a few for this. One big one is just understand that finding the therapist that's your therapist on your first time is one of the rarest things ever. A lot of people become discouraged because they don't meet the therapist on the first time. It's so rare to meet your fit of a therapist. If you do, great. But a lot of the times people got to cycle through it.
Yeah.
That's a big one too. Know why you going to therapy. Like that, you
that's
just
a
gotta,
good one,
because if you thinking a
too.
therapist to figure out what's going on and you already somebody that's blocking that out, you're not gonna want to go.
Yeah.
Another one would be that understand that you got a lot of power in a therapy session. Although they're the professional, you're the expert of your life.
Ooh.
So when you go in
Hello.
there
That's a good reminder.
and you're talking to them, you're creating the narrative in the story. They're just going based off what you say. And they can offer feedback that you feel like that is not even applicable to you.
Yeah.
And be okay to be like, hey, I disagree with that. If it's a good therapist, they'll be like, oh, okay, well, let me take a step back. Let me ask you again, or can you describe it in a way so I can understand it clearly? Right? A lot of people feel like they don't have any type of like power within therapy.
Yeah.
You do. It's a working relationship. It's not just you go to the
Yes.
therapist, they tell you everything, you go home. Right? And then also therapy takes time. And redefine what success in therapy looks like to you. Because success may not be that all your symptoms are gone. Success may not be that you get the best job in the world. It may just be that, all right, now I'm checking in with myself twice. I used to do it once. Now I'm doing it 4 times a week. It might be, all right, now I feel like I don't have a mental block when I get up in the morning because now I'm inspired to get up just because I get the opportunity. Or maybe my symptoms have now declined because I'm doing the work. I'm actively doing it. I'm up and I'm ready to do it. That's success for me. It may not be all the symptoms are gone. It may just be now I have the right tools for it.
Yeah.
Now I have more tools in my toolbox that I can utilize on a needed basis.
Yeah.
And so those would be like those main pieces of anybody that's going towards therapy. Really consider those. Really take that into mind and take account to that. And lastly, I would say that therapy is a place where, you're going to be vulnerable. And if that's something that you're not okay with, say that. Like really speak on it, because when you go in that space, it is what you make it. And
Yeah.
if you don't make a great space with it, the results and the outcomes aren't going to be what you want it to be.
That's real.
It's so good.
That's so real. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for
I
all that you have
know.
shared.
Of
So much
course.
gems. We'll have to have you back because honestly,
Please,
absolutely
please.
love that.
Literally, and you have to bring some
Part
Frito
two.
pie.
Yes,
Oh,
please
say
bring
less.
some Frito
It's
pie.
cold
I would
now,
love to
so-
try it.
And I got the stamp from my grandparents. I let them try it like 2 Christmas ago, and they said, you got the stamp.
That's how you know.
So
That's
it's
how
real.
you know.
It's real.
We
Certified
good.
real
I
Frito
got the
pie.
stamp.
You're going to definitely have to run that. Lastly, what do you got going on? Where can the people find you? Do you have any workshops, anything that you'd like to plug here?
Yeah, so coming up, I have a few engagements that I'll be at in November. I have a bunch. I'll actually be speaking at the regional conference for the BSU
Hey.
at CRC College, and it's going to be November 9th. I'll be speaking there, which that's going to be a phenomenal event. I was a workshop presenter last year.
Nice.
So I'm honored to be the keynote speaker this year. That's going to be really cool. Yeah, leveled up for sure. And where you can find me, if you have an Instagram, Kodak King _ is where my Instagram is and what it is. I speak a lot of my motivational speaking on there, a lot that has to do with modeling and fashion on there as well, because I'm really trying to connect just that full connectedness of yourself, but also tying that together with mental health and what that means. And on top of that, you could check out my TEDx. It's my first name, LaVontae, last name Hill, and the title of it is Mental Health Does Not Discriminate. Woo. And keep in mind, the best phrase in the world is mine, and that is, I got something on my heart. Can I share it with you? So if you want to see more about that, please look at my Instagram. I have a bunch of different mental health focused speeches and engagements on there specifically for you. So definitely know that it's a space for you, and I'm waiting on you.
Hey, we love that.
Yes.
Check him out,
Okay.
y'all. Please check him out. Thank you so much again for joining us. What a great conversation.
Seriously. So good.
It's an honor. It's an honor. Thank you so much.
Of
I appreciate
course.
y'all both. Thank you so much. Come on.
Oh,
My heart is full.
yeah.
Come on.
We love to hear that.
LaVontae, certified real. Bam.
You dig?
LaVontae Hill, ladies and gentlemen. Whoo, that was such a great discussion.
It was
oh
so
my God.
good.
LaVontae is everything.
Wow.
Loved
So
it.
good.
Loved it. Oh my gosh.
Thank you, LaVontae.
Yes, thank you. That will transition us to our thank you. And this episode, we're giving a special thank you to Celebration Arts. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
And putting
Been a
on
beautiful
such a
show.
beautiful play. And also for celebrating and supporting Black artists here in Sacramento. They support Black directors, playwrights, actors, producers, stage managers, and really just Black art. Okay, we absolutely love it. So if you have the itch to catch a play, please consider Celebration Arts. You're going to get a really great show. And one thing that I love that we do is we greet the audience after every show. We like stand out in the lobby and like shake their hand and just have a really good interaction. It's always really pure. People are so like, wow, you did amazing. This was so great. Good. And you get like raw perspective. And it was nerve-wracking at first, but now I come to like really enjoy it. So.
It's so funny because I fully know you, and like after the show when I saw you guys standing out there, I felt like starstruck. I was like, oh my God.
People say that too, like, oh my God, let me get a picture with you. And you're like, what?
Because you guys were literally just up there and now you're here? Holy moly. Hi.
Yeah, it's funny. We had a lady go Instagram Live and was like, everybody. Oh my God, girl. It's so
Shout out
cool,
Crumbs
though.
from the Table of Joy.
Yes.
So good.
Oh my gosh, yes. Shout out, because it's a beautiful play.
Such a good one. And with that, we're going to close out. Mm-hmm. Today was such a bomb-ass episode.
It was. Oh my God.
See, now I just feel like...
Could have been 4 hours.
Literally. And now I feel like y'all should just go binge everything else that we have.
I mean, yeah,
might as well.
Might as well.
And stay connected with us. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at How to Be Real, how to the letter B, real. Our personal pages, I'm at just say _Tay.
And I am at the Tasha B.
Yes, and we love hearing from you. Please email us any listener letters, any advice that you're interested in hearing. Maybe you heard a story about somebody and you want to hear what we have to say about it.
Yes.
Maybe you just want to say hi. You can email us at heyhowtobereal@gmail.com. We love all of those things. And please remember to rate and review the show. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I know you're listening on one of those things right now. So go right ahead to the comment section. Leave us a little rate review. Comment on anything. We just love hearing from you because it helps us to know how to communicate with our community, how to further find our community, and really just to know how we doing. A little temp check.
I know. Give us a little something.
A
little crumb from the table of joy.
Oh, snap. Yeah. You can find all this information linked in the show notes of this episode. And remember, we are not therapists like LaVontae. We just have them.
And know them.
Period. And this week's random reel is on Tasha B.
Yes, it is. It's on me. And okay, this one is straight from me. Okay. Straight up. They don't give out medals for suffering in silence or living a life full of struggle. Ease is not the enemy. Life is too short to not seek joy. Take that.
I love it. Nothing left to be said. That's my drop.
And yeah, like I said, that's me. I even quoted myself.
Okay.
Quote by Tasha B.
Quote by Tasha B. Yes, ma'am. And with that, y'all,
Stay real.